Welcome. In this tutorial, we are going to take a look at the user-defined function. First topic is benefits of function. Abstraction. It hides the implementation details from the user. For example, power function. We know that we need to provide two arguments x and y. It will return the x raised to y. Without knowing the implementation details, we are just calling that function like this. It will return the value which is x raised to y. Another example is print function. We provide multiple arguments to the print function without knowing its implementation detail, how it redirects the output string to the standard output or the Python console. Or if the file argument is given, it writes that output string to the given file. So that implementation detail is hidden from the user of the function. Next benefit is code reuse. So when we are writing a business logic for our project or any general code, we encounter that we are writing some lines of code repetitively in our program. So that repetitive code can be extracted to a function so that it will reduce the amount of line which is required to execute same functionality, as well as it will make your code as a single code base. So that part of a repetitive logic will be extracted to the function, so it will be easy to maintain. Okay, so that is easy to maintain. When we are writing business logic, which is a very long procedural code, that procedural code can be also be broken into the multiple functions, so that it will modularize that code, which will easy to maintain and also easy for testing. Okay. So let's define our first function. We will define an empty function. Okay, so def marks the beginning of a function. After that, we'll provide the name of the function, and in brackets we will write the parameters. In this function we are not taking any parameters, so it will leave as a blank. And we will, in function body, we will write pass. So pass will mark the empty function which does not have any implementation. So in certain cases we might want to declare a function, but its implementation we will implement it at a later stage of a coding. Okay, so this will mark as a empty function. Okay, we can call that function, but it won't give you any result as it is an empty function. Next, we will create a function which prints hello world, and we will give it as a documentation string also. Okay, so same way we have defined a function, and as we have explained earlier, if first line of a function or a class is a multi-line string, it is considered as a documentation string for that function or the class. So here we have written a multi-line string, and inside it we have written what the function does. So this function just prints the hello world. Okay, so this is the function, and we will call it with name and brackets. So still we are not passing any argument, so it should print hello world. Okay, now if we are working in another module or some another Python file where this function is not defined, and if we want to take a look at the documentation, we just need to write the function name and press Ctrl plus Q. As we can see, it will fetch that doc string here. So any other developer who is new to this functionality just developed can take a look at the documentation like this. Okay, so it will, while with coding we can also write the documentation also, and in Python there are tools which will extract total documentation of your project from the given documentation string into the function and classes. So you don't need to maintain documentation separate for your project. There are tools which will generate documentation automatically from just given doc string. So how to document each and every thing, we will explain it as we progress through this tutorial. Okay. Next topic is return statement. So we can also return the value from the function. Okay, so in this example, as we can see here, we are taking two parameters, x and y, and we are returning x plus y, which is addition of it. Okay, so in order to, and we are returning with the return statement, we are returning the addition of both x plus y. So this expression is evaluated, and whatever the result object is returned from for the caller of the function. So here we are calling the function, and whatever the result returned by this call of a function, we are storing inside the variable. Okay, and then we are printing it. So let's execute it. As you can see, our user defined function has returned value 15 plus 20 equal to 35. Okay, now in Python it is not mandatory to store the result of a function, so we can just ignore the return object of a function like this. Okay, so if you execute it, it will definitely print the result object on the console, but if we are executing a Python file as a whole, it will not store the result of a given function into any variable. It will just ignore it. Okay, next topic is returning multiple values with the return statement. So Python does not restrict you to return only single object from the return statement. If you write a multiple object to be returned, what it will do is it will wrap that multiple value inside the tuple object. So ultimately it returns only single object. In other languages such as Java and C, you cannot return multiple object. You need to wrap it inside a single object. Okay, but in Python this is done implicitly by Python. If you are returning multiple objects in return statement, it will wrap it inside tuple object. Okay, so this is a example of div mod function which will return two values. First one is a quotient and second one is a remainder. Okay, so again we are storing into the variable and printing value and type of value returned by the function. So if you execute it, as we can see, this is our quotient and this is remainder, and this is a class of a or a type of a value which is returned by the function. It is a tuple object. Okay, tuple object can be unwrapped using multiple assignments. So we have two values, so we will take two variable q and r, and whatever the result it comes, we are storing inside these two variables. So tuple object gets unwrapped into the individual variables. As we can see, q is having value 17 and r is value having 1. Next topic is the statements written after the return statement does not get executed. Okay, this is the standard practice for each and every languages. It remains same. The whatever the statements written after the return statement does not get executed. So return statement does not always used for returning something. There are in certain exceptional situation when we want to abort a further execution of the function. So in those cases we just need to write return without returning any value, so which will not execute the statements inside the code block of a given function, and it will return to the caller of a function, and then it will continue the statements below the caller of a function. Okay, so in those situations it will end the execution of a given function. Okay, so first we will see that same div mod function with return. As we can see, the print which is after return statement does not get executed. Okay, and even if we don't return any value, so it will return none object by default. Okay, as we can see, and it won't execute the print statement. Next topic is parameter with default value. So in Python we can give default value to a parameter. Suppose we are implementing a function which prints hello, and it takes one argument, name of a person, which will print hello and the name of the person. Okay, but we want to make it this variable parameter as a optional parameter. So if we give any default value to a variable, it becomes optional. Okay, so while calling that function, it is not required to pass that argument, but if you pass that argument, then default value of a parameter gets overridden by the whatever value which is provided when calling the function. So if we execute it like this, and if we are providing value, this unknown as a default value of a name parameter will be overridden with the new value which is Ron. Okay, and if we don't provide any value to the function, as we can see, it will take a default value of a parameter which is passed in a definition of a function. Okay, next topic is mixing the default parameter value with the normal parameter or the required parameter. So this separates the normal parameter as a required parameter. So as we saw earlier, if we normally define a parameter of a function, it is a required parameter. We need to pass those parameters in order to execute the function. If we don't provide them, then it will not execute. Okay, so we can define both type of parameter. One is a required parameter and second one is a default value parameter. But there is a rule: we need to define all the required parameter before any of the all of the parameter with the default value. Okay, so as in this example, we are decorating a message with a decorator. Decorator is having a default value as a star, but it can be replaced. So message is wrapped around the given decorator. If it is not given, it is using star. Okay, so as we can see here, all the required parameter in this example, it is only message are before, and after all the required parameter, it will begin with the default parameter or the default value parameter if it is required. Okay, so if we execute with the without any parameter and with parameter, as we can see, if decorator is not given, then it is using star as a decorator. Then header it is given, then it will decorate with the given decorator. Next topic is functional annotation. Okay. So as we know, Python is a dynamically typed language. So what do we mean by dynamically typed language? So when we are assigning a value to a variable, such as for example variable a equal to 25, that variable is not restricted to hold any certain type of a value. So suppose we are assigning a variable value v1 equal to 25, and at the later stage of a program we can assign any value such as string to the same variable. Okay, so in Python there is no fixed data type for a given variable. Okay, so we cannot determine the value which is held by a variable at compile time. Okay, in other languages such as C and Java, we need to define variable value prior to declaring a variable like this int variable 1, which will mark a given variable value to hold only integer type of a data type, and if you try to assign any other type, it will raise error. So that is statically typed languages. So as the Python is a dynamically typed language, if we are providing multiple arguments, okay, and its data type is not defined, so when we are implementing it, the developer of a function only knows that what are the kinds of data type it is expected by the function. But when that code passes to the other developers, it becomes blurry to what kind of a data type it is expected by the function. Okay, so in order to make a documentation of a function that what are the kinds of data it is expected by the particular parameter and what is the data type it is written by a function, functional annotation are used. So with the parameter we will write like this, with after the parameter name colon separated by one space, we will write the class of a particular type of a variable or the object which is expected by a particular parameter. So in this example, send mail to parameter expects type of object which is string. Okay, subject parameter also expect the type of a string. So we have just annotated that this is the parameter name and this is the type of value which is expected by the parameter. And after the parameter we are writing dash greater than, and after that we will write the data type of an object which is written by the function. As we can see here, function is not returning any value, so we'll make it as a none, and after colon we will begin the code block which is containing the Python code of for the particular function. Okay. Now this is the documentation string as we have explained it earlier, but we will extend that documentation further to the parameter. Okay, so in first line will be multi-line string. Okay, and the first statement of a multi-line string is a documentation of a function. So this is the documentation about what the function does. So in this example, it sends the email to any valid addresses, and after that we defining the documentation for the each and every parameter. Okay, so here we have annotated the data type of a function, but what is its actual use is defined using like this. So in PyCharm, here there is a functionality to define a documentation for a particular parameter using like this. So colon param, after that parameter name and colon, and after that the documentation for a particular parameter. So whatever its functionality is, it is written like this. Okay, so for all parameter we need to write the documentation. So what is the use of it and how does it look? So if we define it and press Ctrl plus Q on the function definition or the wherever the function is called. So suppose here it is a separate module and we are calling it here, so it is not defined here, and we want to see the documentation, we just press Ctrl plus Q. So as we can see here, it will fetch, this is the function body. Okay, this is the structure of a function. So these are the argument and its expected type of object for that particular argument, and this is the summary of a function, and this is the documentation for each parameter. So whenever calling the function in any module, any developer can access the given documentation of a function. Okay, and one of the benefit of using PyCharm is whenever you are writing function, it will implicitly, as you can see here, it is populating the parameter name, and this is a functional annotation implicitly. So whenever you are passing a parameter, it will give you that functional annotation from the particular function. So where you can see that you are writing the two parameter which should be expressed in the string. Okay, after that, suppose if you are writing this and if you are writing second parameter, so it will move. Okay, so if you write second parameter, as we can see, it is moving to the second parameter, so it will highlight as you write the parameter. Okay, and here we can also view the documentation for a particular parameter also. So if you hover over it, and if you click on that, focus on that and press Ctrl Q, it will fetch a documentation string for that particular parameter from the doc string. Okay, so same statement is extracted when we press Ctrl Q on the parameter. Next topic is help function. So help function takes single argument as a object which will fetch documentation with relevant information and return it into the string. So if we print help of any object or a class or a function, it will return its documentation. So let's first print the documentation for a print function. So as we can see, it will return first line. If it is a function, then it is function. In which module it is written inside the built-in modules. This is the parameter or the signature of a particular function. Okay, this is the parameters and its explanation of a value expected or the result it will give, and this is the documentation about the summary about what the function does. Okay. Same way, if we pass range, as you can see, it is a class range inside the built-in module. So if we check the documentation for a particular class, the class is having methods and attribute. It will combine all the documentation for all of the function defined inside and make a single documentation for the particular class, which include functions and attributes also. Okay. Same way, we will see how our documentation looks. So as the built-in function, same way, this is our user defined functions documentation. So first line is the same send mail function in main module, as we are executing the same module inside the Python console. Okay, this is a signature of a function, this is summary, and these are the parameter and its documentation. There is another special attribute which returns only the documentation string. So doc surrounded by double underscore on a given function or a class will return only the string as it is, documentation string. So as we saw earlier, help is printing some other values such as function in which module and signature of a function. This will only return the documentation string. So as we can see here, just a documentation string without any other information. So we can use this special attribute. Same way, there is an annotations attribute which will return dictionary object which will contain the name of a parameter as a key and a data type which is expected by that parameter as a value. Okay, and if it is there is no functional annotation for a particular function or a class, it will return an empty dictionary object. Okay. Next topic is scope of a variable. So there are two kinds of scope in Python. First one is a global scope and second one is a local scope. So when we are writing a Python code in a particular Python file, which is called as a module, we are getting some of the function attributes and classes getting imported implicitly without writing any import statement. So in date and time we saw that for date and time we need to import some classes, date, time, date and time classes in order to use them. But when we are using print function, we are not importing it. So how does it importing? So whenever we are writing any Python code in module, it is implicitly imported as a global variable in a global space. Okay. So how do we check it? So there are two functions. First one is a global, which return dictionary containing global variables, and second function is local, which will return dictionary containing local value as per the current scope. So both of the function returns the value based on the where it is executed. So if you are writing here at the module level, okay, if we are defining a variable at the module level, it will automatically become the global variable. Okay, so for that particular scope it is global also, and as this variable are defined within this code block, it will become local also. Okay, so then what is the difference between? It will create a difference when we are defining a function which is having separate scope than the global scope of this at the module level. So first we will take a look at the module level scope. So if whatever the value defined here already becomes part of a global scope, but whenever we will define a variable inside a function, that is a separate scope which will not be the part of a global scope. So let's take a look at the output of first this. So as we can see here, it will give you a huge output. Then first we have print the global. So these are the function and classes of a built-in module which is implicitly imported by the import and which is available to all module. So as we can see here, our two variable defined at the module level is included into the global scope, and as we are executing local at the module level, we expect that these two are the local variable to the local scope. So here it begins the local scope, and we scroll down. As you can see here, these are the two variable which are in local scope. Okay, so at the module level we saw the local and global which are having almost equal values. It will change it when we are defining a function. So we can define variable inside the function which is local to that function. Okay, so its scope is local to that particular function. It is not accessible outside that function. So in that case, local will return, if we are executing local inside the function, it will only return a variable which are local to that particular scope. So in this code block, there is only one local variable which is C. Okay, and if we execute global, it will return all the variable which are global to that particular function. Okay, so as we saw earlier that we have written the print statement. So what, and the print is a, if we saw output of this, here we will find print function is imported. So as we can see here, print function is implicitly imported into the global scope. That is the reason why we are directly able to access it inside our module. Okay, and we have also seen that we are writing a print function inside the function. So what it means is, whatever the values or variable, function, or the class is imported into the global scope are by default accessible inside the function, which is in the local scope of a function. Okay, so by default it makes available this variable which is defined at the module level, which is converted as a global scope. They are accessible inside it. So if we try to print it here, let's first print the value of variable a, b. Okay, and we execute it. As we can see, module level variable are accessible inside the local scope of a function, and if we execute locals, as we can see, local scope of a function is only having single variable, and all the other built-in variables about built-in class module function are in a global scope. And as we can see here, a and b variable becomes the part of a global scope because they are defined at the module level. So let's see the same scope inside these slides. So as we can see here, all the scope of a function is marked with the different color. So as we can see here, x variable is defined at the global scope. So this is the written at the module level. Then we are defining a function. Whenever we are defining, its local scopes begin. So whatever the variable defined inside that particular function becomes the part of that particular local scope of that function. So they are accessible only inside that particular scope. Same as if we define second function, it will become the part of that particular local scope. Okay, so this is how you can imagine the scope of a variable when declaring function. Okay, Python also allowed to declare a nested function. So function can be declared within inside the function. So this is how the scope of a nested function will look like. So as we can see, whenever the nested function is declared, its scope is separated out here. Okay, now moving to the next topic, which is local variable versus global variable. So as we explained it, whatever the variable defined inside the function are the local variable. Okay, and global variable is a variable which is implicitly imported by the Python or imported explicitly, or the variable which is defined at the module level. Okay, so what is the main difference between it? Whenever we are defining a local variable inside a function, it gets created when a function call is made, and it will be destroyed when function call gets finished. Okay, as compared to the global variable, it stays inside the memory until a Python console is closed or it is removed explicitly using code. Okay. Now we will take a look at the accessing and modifying that global variable. Okay. So as we saw earlier, the part of a global variable or any class function such as print is accessible inside the scope of a local scope of a particular function. Okay. So this is the variable which is accessed inside the given function. It will print its value. But if we try to modify its value, that is not allowed inside the function. So in order to allow it, we need to mark the global variable as a global, which will allow to modify the particular global variable. This is by design, it is restricted by the Python. Okay. So if you are using this global variable and if you are modifying it inside the function, be careful. It is not a good design choice. You should consider any alternative choice for accessing that variable. You can also pass the same variable as the parameter of a function also. Okay. But if that is not the case, you can mark that particular variable as a global and you can modify it. Okay. So as we can see it, first we will print the value of that and then we will increment it and we will again, after incrementing it, we will again modify it. So as we can see here, it is printing that incremented value after that. Okay. Next topic is pass by value and pass by reference. So in other languages such as C, we can pass the reference of a particular variable as a argument of a parameter or as a parameter of a function, which will replace the value of a particular variable. And we can also pass the value of a particular object as a parameter, which will not affect the variable. So those two concept, how does it place inside the Python? Okay. So in Python, we know that there is no reference of a particular variable. Okay. Variable itself holds the memory location of a object. Okay. So when we are passing a variable to a parameter of a function, it also passes the memory address of a particular object to the local variable of a function. So if we having a function cube which is taking variable n, and if we are passing the variable value n, what it is actually passing is a memory address of a particular variable, in this case variable n, as an argument of a cube function. Okay. So what is the difference between as a pass by value and a pass by reference then? So it depends on the type of an object. If it is an immutable object, you can consider it as a pass by value, and if it is a mutable object, you can consider it as a pass by reference. What do you mean by it? So if you are passing an immutable object as an argument, whatever changes you made to that particular object will stick to that object after finishing the execution of object. So let's check first for the immutable object. So as we know, the integer is an immutable object. We will pass it inside the function and we try to modify it, and we will, after calling the function, we will print again the value of it. So as we can see here, cube will multiply the given value 3 times. Okay, so as you can see, value outside of a function is given 10. After in execution of the cube, it is modifying the value of a local variable only. So this will create a new local variable of a function which is variable n, and it will modify its value to 1000 value. Okay, and it will return a value 1000 that we are not storing again inside the n. So if you print value of original variable, it will remain 10 after calling it. Okay, so if we, in order to modify it, you need to assign like this, n equal to cube, then it will modify the reference of a particular variable. But when calling the, or when passing that memory address to this object, because it is an immutable object, integer, it will not modify that particular value. Okay, but it changes when we are passing mutable objects such as list. Okay, so list is a mutable object. We will see the detail in upcoming session, but for now we will consider this is a declaration of a list, and if we are passing that list as an argument of a function, and if we are modifying it, whatever changes made to that particular list will persist to the same variable outside of that. Okay, so let's execute and see what happens. So as we can see here, we are printing list, same list, after execution of a function. So as we can see, it is appending 4 to the list. So why does it appending the list? Why it is modifying the, why and how it is modifying the mutable variable? So let's see the slides. Okay, so let's check out what happens internally in the memory for the first example, which is when we are passing in any immutable data type. So in this case, we are trying to modify the variable of immutable type. Okay, so as we can see, n is a global variable which is outside of the function, is having value 10, which is passed to the cube method. Okay, so this is the execution sequence. So same memory address is copied to the local variable n. Now we are modifying its variable. So this is assignment of a value to the local variable of a function, which is 1000. So new immutable object of integer type is created, and it is stored inside the local variable n, and we are returning that value of a particular n object, n variable. Okay, and we are not storing it. So after calling it, all the local variable value will be destroyed. Okay, and after that, if we try to print it, as we can see, it will still point to the original object, which is having value 10. Okay, now let's see what happens if we use mutable object to pass it as an argument of a function. So what happens inside the memory? So as we can see, list object is defined at the module level, and this is the function, and let's call it. So when we are calling the function, we are also passing the element, and we are passing the memory address of that particular object. Okay, as the given object type is mutable, it will change the object value stored at a given particular location. So it is modifying it. Okay, and after calling it, as we can see, the reference remains same and same object is modifying. Okay, so that is how it is modified.